How many of you guys like doing a survey with people? My favorite step in the entire process. Why is it so important? They tell you how to sell them. Every single human being who has ever bought anything from me told me how to sell. And I'm sure the same is true for you. Well, we're talking to an oak tree, so I have no idea what the hell motivates this woman. But he keeps going through and he's asking her questions, which is the step we're going to get into here, the needs analysis, the survey. He just kept going step by step, the most boring human being on the planet. And by the time we got through the product presentation, after garnering no emotional reaction from this woman at all, she went, so then how do we get started? And my jaw freaking hit the table. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I was not getting any feedback from this woman at all the entire time we were here. I would have walked out of here without this deal. I know it, because I would have been uncomfortable talking to her because I'm getting nothing. You guys ever have that one happen? Those are tough. When that stuff happens, fall into the training. This step selling process works on the human brain. It is all based on neuroscience and psychology. It works because you're dealing with a person. They don't have to be an interesting person. They just have to have a brain. That's it.
Yep.
Some people more than others. So the first thing I want to do anytime I'm doing a survey is to transition out of my introduction and just start making small talk. You guys do this all the time, right? What sort of things do you open up the conversation with when you're sitting at the kitchen table with a homeowner? List goes on. Keep your head on a swivel. You got all that time walking from the door to the table. See what is prominently displayed in the house. You can learn a lot about people by their environment. And then just start complimenting them. How many times you walk into a house that was built in 1940, but the kitchen was obviously remodeled, and you just go, oh, I love the kitchen. Is that like that when you bought the place, or did you guys do this? And you're off to the races. You know how many layering questions we can ask there? If they remodeled it, where's that conversation going to go?
How about the contractor?
How was the contractor? Did you do it yourself or did you hire it out? We hired it out. How'd it go? How long did it take? Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? What did you love about it? What did you hate about it? Would you hire him again? I love having those conversations early on, but it starts with a simple compliment. Sometimes you look out the back window and you're just like, wow, how far does the lot go back? This is beautiful. You compliment them on their home. It's their home. I am genuinely curious about these people and their family and the way they exist in this home. Is that helpful information for me to have?
Yeah.
Is the way they answer going to tell you what type of personality you're dealing with?
Yeah.
For those of you who are familiar with Chris Voss, what are the 3 different types of personalities that we run into every day?
It's time to listen up, closers. Before you go any further, you need to hear this. The Grosso University Sales Academy Masterclass is not just another training opportunity. This is the most in-demand, highest-rating sales training program in the history of the home improvement industry. Thousands of sales warriors just like you have gone through this life-changing program taught by our world-class head sales trainer, Daniel Coombsbury, and they are winning more and bigger because of it. If you're serious about dominating in sales, this is where you go to sharpen your edge. The best part is, it's 100% virtual and happens on the second Monday of every month, so there are absolutely 0 excuses not to invest in your growth and development. Why don't you go ahead and hit the link in the description to learn more and lock in your spot and get ready to ignite the greatness within. On behalf of Grosso University, yes, you are a closer, and back to the video.
Assertive, analytical, and collaborative, or if you want to do the AAA, it's an accommodator, if that helps. So if you're an accommodator, what are your strengths? Empathy, understanding, communication's usually pretty strong. What are your weaknesses? Super uncomfortable with silence. Show of hands if that's you. That can suck in sales, right? If you are uncomfortable with awkward silences, fortunately for me, when I was in an awkward silence, it was never really silent because the internal monologue was going. I would just sing a little song to myself. Shut up, Dan. Shut up, Dan. The whole time. Don't talk. Now your turn. Sit there and wait for them. But it's important to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. So building quick rapport with people. If you are an accommodator, easy peasy, right? When you get down to the closing sequence, that is probably something that you have to really work on. So I am all over the place when I do my survey. It goes where it goes. The conversation flows. I get to know people the same way a lot of you do if you're accommodators. When you get to the closing sequence, it's uncomfortable. And if I'm uncomfortable, they're uncomfortable. So that's when I get right into my actual step selling process, my step closing process. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's important to identify what personality type you have when you get stressed out. Now, as an accommodator, I am always looking for a win-win outcome. If you're dealing with another accommodator at the table, those conversations usually last a long time. Everybody's free-flowing information back and forth. We're both looking for the same thing. They want help. I want to help them. We want to negotiate on terms that make sense for both of us, and we want to leave, with an amicable solution. If I'm talking to somebody who's not an accommodator, let's say I'm talking to somebody who's highly assertive, what do they value? Time, speed. They like to be in control. They like power. They like to win. If I'm looking for a win-win solution and they're looking to beat me, we're actually diametrically opposed, right? We're not looking at this the same way. Any of you guys ever run into that problem? If you're an accommodator, you ever talk to an assertive person, they just steamroll you? You're like, why is this guy being so mean? It's not being mean, it's just who he is. Values time. They're typically egomaniacs. I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but that's the way I always look at them. They want to win. They want to dominate. Anybody in here highly assertive? Hell yeah. So when you make up your mind to do something, do you ever waffle on it, or when your mind's made up, is it made up? That's what I like about assertive people is if you know how to talk to them, you're respectful of their time, you make them feel like they're in a position of power. And I always want to act like I'm the help, but I don't want to come in like I am a beta, so to speak, if they're an alpha. I want to match that energy, but I don't want to fight with them for control. Then I can help them from a place of mutual respect. And when it comes down to negotiation time, I know they're going to try to beat the crap out of you. You guys ever have somebody who you lay down the price on an assertive person, you're like, yeah, it's $32,643, and they go, yeah, I'm not paying more than $20,000 for it. I had that happen so much when I was a young sales rep. And I was like, how am I going to do this $32,000 project for $20,000? You don't have to. What can you do instead? Reduce scope. If they only want to spend $20,000, if that's a firm project, can we do a $32,000 project for $20,000? No, we cannot. But we can reduce the scope of work. That's one option. Absolutely. What else can you do? Oh, product drop. We can absolutely do that. $20,000 down. We can finance the balance. What if they say, no, we want to do the whole project, but I'm not paying a penny more than $20,000?
What?
Do a takeaway. What does that sound like? How am I supposed to do that? Chris Voss. What if they come back to you and they're like, it's not my problem, it's your problem. I'm not spending a penny more than $20,000. But what can you leverage with an assertive person to get them to change their mind? There's no facts and figures you can throw at these people to get them to admit defeat and tap out because they're hardwired to win.
Not everyone can all it.
Threaten the ego.
You did.
Threaten their ego, but you got to do it in a tactful way. If I'm like, listen, you broke son of a bitch, you're going to get punched. Then we can lead into something like a total offer concept, which we'll talk more about. We can start to take things out of it. I used to just start fluffing dudes' egos. I'd be like, just look around the house and be like, this house is what, $800K? Which I obviously knew because I did my preparation. Thank you, internet. Like, something like that. Well, and you want to put a $20,000 roof on this house. I saw the 7 Series out in the driveway. Man, what are you trying to fool? You put a $20,000 roof on this house? Listen, I can't do it for you. That's where you draw a line in the sand with these guys sometimes. Tell them a no politely. You just got to prove to them that not only is this impossible to do, if we do this on your house, you're devaluing it. You're going to be the joke of the neighborhood. I saw your neighbors. They put Camelot 2s on that house. Are you kidding me? You put a 3-tab on this thing? Not my house. I'm not going to let them bully me. I also want to summarize their position in such a way that I am giving them white glove treatment. They see me as a professional because they're busy. Like, you don't seem like the type of guy who can sit around and talk to 15 other companies about, I've been here 3 hours. Well, if it's an assertive guy, I've been here an hour and 20 minutes. You're going to sit here with 10, 15 other companies for what? Until somebody throws you a $20,000 price tag? Here, I'll do it right now. I'll tell you what. We just won't do the ice and water. The 80-60 underlayment. We don't need that shit. I'll slap the shingles on here. No problem. Get some day laborers out here. You're going to find somebody who gives you the price you want. Are you going to put that on this house?
Don't.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, 20 grand, no problem. Where do you want to sleeve the materials? You install it yourself? You got a buddy who wants to put that? No warranty. That's it. Just do a layover. How bad could it be? People scream at you. I'm trying to buy something from you. Here's how you sell me shit. We have to listen. When you're going through a survey like this and you're trying to identify a prospect, they are screaming at you. This is who I am. This is how you can sell me. But as salespeople, we talk. Shut up. Ask a question. Listen to the response. Ask a layering question. If they respond, you're starting to put puzzle pieces together. Free flow information is going back and forth. If I'm starting to get paragraphs back from these people, I activate the self-disclosure loop. They start giving me too much information. They're collaborative. If they're keeping it buttoned up and tight to the vest, they're not. You're either dealing with someone who's assertive or analytical. And you can use social cues and pay attention to your surroundings to start to determine which one's which. You can tell who an assertive person is at the front door. When you get to their house, they try to drag you right to the project. That's the first clue. They shake your hand, they break your hand. But we want to make sure we're treating these people the way they need to be treated, not the way we want to be treated. Your job is to be a chameleon in the home. That's the job. I am an accommodator default. But I can be whoever you need me to be. I'll be assertive if you're assertive. I'm not going to challenge your authority, but I'm going to meet you where you are. Communicate to you the way you want to be communicated. Even the rate of speech, the inflection, the tonality of your voice changes when you're talking to these people. Now, this leaves the last group, the analyst. You guys ever sell an engineer?
Yes.
What happens when you're talking to an engineer? What do they value?
Yeah.
Details.
Years.
Years to decide. I've gotten 27 bids going back to 2017. I've noticed the prices have increased. Paralysis by analysis. That's a fact. Now, what do they value? Data, time. How do they feel about pressure?
And
They hate it. They curl up. Why? Because our default response to stress is fight, flight, or make friends. If you're an accommodator, you make friends by nature. You try to diffuse a situation and find common ground. If you're an assertive person, you're aggressive, you're going to fight. And if you're an analyst, you retreat. It's flight. Let's leave, get as much information as we can, come up with a plan, and then we can attack this thing. So if I find out early on in the appointment as I'm talking to this person that they're reserved but they're not dominant, I get into form. If I'm talking to somebody who's analytical and I get into form, form is an acronym that stands for family, occupation, recreation, motivation. Do people who are highly analytical talk a lot about their families? Not with strangers. Not for the most part. How about their job? Do they tend to talk about that?
Sure.
Sometimes. But even if they don't want to open up about it, can you learn a lot about somebody if you find out they're an engineer?
Yes.
Ask them questions. Get them to teach you something. They're smart. Treat them accordingly. That's the coolest thing about this job, in my opinion, other than the fact that you make a shitload of money and there's nobody looking over your shoulder all the time. You learn something from every customer you talk to. So for those of you who have heard this story before, I apologize, but I repeat myself a lot. I had a customer during COVID who opened his door and he was just nerded out, top to bottom. He was wearing like the Drew Carey shirt, button-down plaid shirt, pocket protector, about 160 pounds, 6'2". And he had the Drew Carey haircut, mask on. And he's like, hey, we're going to be in the garage. I was like, all right. So you open up the garage and there's a 10-foot card table sitting there. 2 chairs on one side, 1 chair on this side. So he and his wife are sitting 10 feet away from me and I was over here. And as I started talking to them, since they're wearing masks, I can't read their face. I'm looking at the little lines around their eyes to try to see if I'm getting any sort of feedback. But as I'm going through my survey, I started talking about his family. I was getting nothing. So yeah, we have 2 girls. Okay. I was like, what do you do for work? And he goes, I run the nuclear physics department for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So I'm like, oh, Jesus. Sweet. So from an IQ standpoint, this guy's got me by God knows how many points. I'm not going to outsmart him. But I know that I have a lot of technical data about this window that I'm trying to sell, and I know how to pitch it. So I need to get him to teach me something about his job. And I knew one piece of information about his world. So I just asked him a question. I'm like, wow, that sounds complicated. That's impressive. You're running that entire division. Hey, I got a question for you. I heard that during the Manhattan Project, there was a portion of the cohort of scientists that were building the bomb that were concerned that when they released the atomic energy, they'd start a chain reaction and they would ignite all the oxygen in the atmosphere and kill everything on the planet. And they did it anyway. Is that true? And those lines around his eyes tightened up. And he was like, that is true. But that theory started in 1896 in Poland. And I was like, holy shit. And he went in the house and he got a book called The Making of the Atomic Bomb. And we started talking about it. And, a half hour later, I'm like bleeding out of my ears. But I'm, oh, yeah, this is amazing. It's really good stuff.
Get that.
But because I took the time to talk to him about that and I showed genuine interest and curiosity about something he was passionate and knowledgeable about, I was like, listen, I never get to do this with anybody because who the hell cares about Windows? But you will. I was like, I never do a deep dive and nerd out on this shit. But you are going to love this. And I want to see what you think about our presentation because I think it's pretty scientific, but you know better than I do. So show him that I am also not a freaking moron because I know one thing that he's interested in. Listen to him, learn something, and then tailor my pitch specifically to his personality type. And that was the easiest sale of all time. But if I wasn't able to break through to that guy and learn a lot about who he is and what makes him tick when he talks about his occupation, we never would have gotten there, which is why form is so crucial. Is why identifying your prospect as one of these types is so crucial. We have to adapt and be a chameleon.